Welcome back to Mystara, everybody. It's the last of the B series, 1985's Castle, Caldwell, and Beyond. I'm not going to review the compilation module In Search of Adventure because I've covered all 9 modules contained within it, and all it does is reprint them while shaving off several scenes, like removing the keep from the Keep on the Borderlands. The B series ended with 12 modules total, 13 if you count the solo module Ghost of Lion Castle. Castle Caldwell is considered by many to be truly the last of the B series because B10 branches into the expert set, and indeed it was a hybrid called B/X1 in the UK where it was written. And King's Festival and Queen's Harvest were both written several years after Castle Caldwell when TSR was trying to restart that module line. So I'm Mr. Welch, and we are talking about Castle Caldwell. The module isn't well regarded by many players and more than a few reviewers. First off, it's an anthology module. There's 5 adventures contained within, all obviously very short because you're not going to fit large adventures in a 30-page module if you have to share it with 4 other adventures. The module states every single adventure was designed to be played in a single night. With the module might not be expansive, it is perfect for one-shots, sort of. The adventures go up in difficulty as you progress. The clearing of Castle Caldwell is a step up from a cakewalk, while their Sanctuary of Elwyn the Ardent is the largest and the most difficult. The module has been criticized for its randomly silly names. For whatever reason, the author of the module used the pseudonym Harry W. Knuckles, which is Harry Knuckles for those who are slow to catch jokes. Frank Mincer named the actual author as Ron Chorulski, making his debut in the module writing business. Mincer later denied saying this according to an article, but I haven't found anything else to prove the veracity of the statement one way or the other. The module itself is obviously named after TSR artist Clyde Caldwell, and that's his handiwork on the cover. Much of the model is considered to be silly, like having to repeat the magic words, "Oh, what a goose I am," to get out of the dungeon. Alright, this is where I break from common wisdom. Having researched this module, I found out the module was actually compiled from adventures written by Chorulski for his sons and his friends. It's written for 8-year-olds. When you view it in that light, the module suddenly makes a lot more sense. The adventures are short. You're not going to send 3rd graders on an epic quest, or you're going to lose their attention. There's jokes galore. Again, this is to entertain children. There's no mature themes. The monsters are easy to beat. When you look at the module in that light, it changes completely. The issue with the module is it was marketed towards adults when it should have been put out as the first kid-friendly module. I put the failure of this module on marketing. It's like that Doctor Who episode in The Forest of the Night, the one where the trees save the world with a bunch of kids helping. I didn't care for that one at first, but then I watched a pack of gamer progeny at the store I worked at stare enraptured at the TV for an entire hour, and I realized that I wasn't the target audience of that product. Okay, so with the caveat that this is an introductory module written for 3rd graders, here's a rundown of the adventure. Clearing of Castle Caldwell is a generic dungeon crawl. Party is hired by Cliff Caldwell to clear out the castle he just bought. It's a 1-floor dungeon with some minor monsters, mostly goblins and kobolds that you'll one-shot. There's a few non-combatants around as well, so the kids don't automatically assume they need to slaughter every living creature they come across. They'll learn to do that later, like when they're like 1 XP from leveling, so they decide to bleach the entire floor to kill off all the microscopic organisms, hoping they get one worth 1 XP. And you gotta teach those kids young. It's pretty much a room-by-room eviction adventure. You don't have to kill the baddies, you just gotta get them to leave. They aren't all bad guys in the modules because the goblins and bandits running an Airbnb, so there's some merchants who rented out some rooms there, and an evil cleric who's actually surprisingly agreeable. There's no names attached to anybody. It's Trader Number 1 and Cleric or Bandit Leader. Like Keep on the Borderlands, you get to name them as you want. It's a generic castle that you can stick anywhere in your setting. There's a magically locked door that the party can't open, but that leads us to the Dungeons of Terror. Okay, the Dungeon of Terror. It's a single dungeon. Don't know why they went plural on the title. I guess just for dramatic effect. Cliff calls you back, say he's finally got that door open and there's a trap door that needs exploring. You head back and go to the 2nd level of the castle. We're dungeon crawling. The first thing the module does is destroy the trust forever of small children. Spoilers, it throws a doppelganger at you as soon as you walk through the door. And this is a module for children. Told you get to train them early to trust nothing. I mean, come on, the word is German for your evil twin. Now, unless the kids speak Deutsch, they're not going to know that running into someone who looks a lot like you and is extremely friendly and clingy is a very bad thing. Actually, in real life, that applies as well. So after you've given them years of trust issues, you get to clearing out the dungeon. This one's an extremely short dungeon. It's only 15 rooms with a lot more combat than the first adventure. It's got a white for the baddie, and these are 1st level adventures, so it means 1 hit, 1 kill. Fortunately, there's a lot of magic items to be found in the first 2 adventures, but remember, a few good rolls and you've wiped out half the party. The next 3 adventures aren't related at all to the first 2. They're completely standalone. And again, they're designed to be played in a single night. The kidnapping of Princess Sylvia, is the classic rescue of the princess plot. It's also the one that thinks owlbears use halberds. Well, at least in the artwork. I'm not sure how that's supposed to look like an owl's head. This is a tiny one-level dungeon with lots of goblins running around and an evil wizard there to cackle sinisterly as the party explores the dungeon. When you actually get to the end and find out there's the big baddie does have an owlbear, but unfortunately this one doesn't have a halberd. Then you get to the fourth adventure and you try to break out of a Nazi prison death camp with Steve McQueen, David Attenborough, James Coburn, Charles Bronson, Donald Pleasance, and James Garner in The Great Escape. Or instead you just get put in a typical get-out-of-prison adventure. You know the routine. Wake up in a jail cell, no gear. It's just a stupid jailer. You get to stealth your way back to your gear, make your escape. It's a generic dungeon crawl. Nobody's named, and you're supposed to customize it to fit your campaign. They just happen to name it The Great Escape. You don't get to name a module The Great Escape unless it's got a motorcycle and barbed wire, and it's situated on the border of Switzerland. The last adventure is The Sanctuary of Elwyn the Ardent, and it's got the generic The Villain is Secretly a Woman twist, which doesn't mean anything today. In the 80s, this was still years before Samus Aran was a thing. Shocking 8-year-olds with equal opportunity bad guys was still a thing back in the 80s. Of course, now you get told certain groups can't be bad guys because we might hurt their feelings because of course reasons. Don't get me started on people whining that their special little identification automatically makes them and anyone like them good guys because they have a persecution complex and can't handle complex characters that might share some traits with them but still be villains because we don't want our feelings hurt. Life sucks. Wear a helmet. Where was I? Oh yeah, children's adventure. So the Sanctuary is a treasure hunt module, starting with an ambush. When you kill the bad guys, you find the treasure map. Module is a bit of a disguised railroad. The dungeon is actually a spiral pattern like a shell, so there's only one path through the dungeon. I actually don't mind that. It gives at least a legit reason why you have to go in order because the engineer had a thing for mollusks. Adds at least a little flavor when you're crawling through a conch-shaped dungeon. The module is short, just like all the rest, and it's fairly easy. It does give them a dragon to slay, a tiny little black dragon that's chained and sleeping, so they get a free round to treat it like a piñata before they have a decent fight on their hands. The big boss is a level 6 cleric, but she's pretty nerfed, so that's not much of a problem. And that's the module. 5 quick and easy adventures. It's meant for kids. There's not a lot to read, rather. The plot is basic, the enemy's lightweight. You reach high school age, you're going to find the module simplistic. Now, if you're a parent with small children that wants to play with you, this is the module you want. Nothing too difficult, covers most of the basic adventure types. Keep in mind that when you look at that in the module, this is not Castle Lambert or Knight's Dark Terror. This is Baby's First Broadsword. Now, so much for playing the Apologist. The module has numerous typos and some serious formatting issues, especially towards the back. The font seems to change page for page. Some of the lines overlap each other on different pages. This gives the appearance of a rush job, something TSR was just trying to get on the shelves without too much effort, without actually playtesting the module. The fact it was written towards kids and sold to the adults doesn't help the module's reputation at all. Physical copy is not cheap. This seems to be the norm for the later B-series modules. $40 to $50 seems to be the going rate for a module that isn't well regarded. $5 is the PDF price as usual, and for only the second time, go for the PDF if you need a copy, unless you can find one on sale. The module is a curiosity because of the story behind its creation, but there's a lot better modules to play. And that's Castle Caldwell and Beyond. It's not one of TSR's better moments. If you have to play it in 5th edition, just plug and play the monsters. All the dungeons are single level. There's not a lot of danger at all except for certain monsters. It's for kids. If your kid wants to play a game, sure, grab one of the 5 adventures and run it. Gets them away from the video game for a few hours and lets them use their imagination. That's not a bad thing. That raises the module from just bad to just flawed. Next week I'm going to go back to the accessories before jumping into the companion modules to finish those off. Covering the tile-based modules, including AC3, which is the 3D dungeon tiles, which the randomly numbered AC8 3D dragon tiles, both which short adventures. These were the first tile sets for D&D and included the 3D sided standees that represented the first upright parts of the game. So until next time, you'd think beholders would be extremely